It's time now for our press review with Leo McGuinn. And Leo, you start in Korea, where President Yoon has defended his declaration of martial law. How have the papers been covering this?
You can see the headline in the Korea Herald, which is the country's most read English language newspaper. President Yeol refusing to step down and even defending his declaration of martial law. He's called the opposition's attempts to impeach him unconstitutional. The bad news for him, though, as you can see in the Korea Times, is that it's not only the opposition who now support that impeachment. Following Yoon's comments, the leader of the ruling PPP party, Han Dong-hoon, announced his decision to back that impeachment, while also calling for an ethics committee to discuss whether to ask Yoon to leave the party altogether. The comments mark a change in the stance for the party. They'd earlier said that they would push for an orderly resignation. That first impeachment vote last weekend fell short by just a few votes, and the main opposition, Democratic Party of Korea, is set to file a new motion to impeach Yoon later on today. I'll finish with Hankyoreh, which is one of the country's leading newspapers, a more left-leaning paper, have published this editorial this morning. They say that a man suspected of trying to incite limited war simply cannot remain commander-in-chief. They report that they're mounting suspicions that he was trying to incite skirmishes with North Korea to justify that martial law. Following the insurrection's failure, whistleblowers inside the military claim that former defence minister who orchestrated the martial law declaration had ordered a drone incursion of Pyongyang in October, just before that martial law declaration. This piece finishes by saying, given these revelations, South Koreans naturally feel very nervous about the fact that Yoon remains legally in charge of the country's military. He must be swiftly impeached to alleviate that anxiety, with those allegations thoroughly explored.
And let's go to Canada next, where US President-elect Donald Trump has ruffled some feathers by calling a Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau Governor of the great state of Canada. How has this gone down in hockey country, Leo?
Yeah, well, Trump made that tongue-in-cheek comment on his Truth Social account last night, and the National Post, which is one of the country's papers of record, have responded with this front page. It sounds like we're living in an episode of South Park. That's a direct quote from Immigration Minister Mark Miller. Canadians, of course, were the bad guys in the South Park movies. Look, members of the ruling Liberal Party have been quick to downplay these comments, several ministers stressing that Trump was, of course, joking. It comes after the president-elect also made a similar joke, calling Canada the potential 51st state. So they have taken those comments as a joke, but one thing they're taking very seriously is Trump's threats to impose tariffs on Canadian goods, as you can see also in the Post this morning. Canada is preparing retaliatory tariffs, even threatening to cut off energy to the US. Trump said he'd impose tariffs on both Canada and Mexico unless both countries stop the flow of immigrants and illegal drugs coming into the US. In response, Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who you can see there, has threatened to withhold the province's energy, which it exports to 5 states in the US. The New York Times have this piece on how Canada planned to avoid such tariffs. The measures under consideration include better controlling border crossings by deploying drones and K9 units, as well as reducing unnecessary foot traffic between the two countries. The government is also considering new tech to detect and curb the flow of fentanyl over the border. Canada will also invest in better databases that will permit US authorities to get background information on those crossing the border. The biggest challenge, though, according to experts, it will be finding the personnel to beef up border security.
And in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia has been confirmed as hosts for the 2034 World Cup. It was a one-horse race, which they not surprisingly won. It sparked controversy over the country's human rights record.
I'll start with the front page of Arab News, which is a Saudi royal family-owned paper. Unsurprisingly, they're celebrating the news on their front page this morning. very much not the case everywhere. I'll bring you this Guardian opinion piece this morning. A vote without a vote, they call it. The Saudi World Cup is an act of violence and disdain, referencing the fact that Saudis were the only ones who actually formally submitted a bid, and yesterday was just a formality. As the bids were read out, delegates from 200 countries applauded over Zoom, which this piece calls an utterly pathetic spectacle. If not the most nauseating sports stage show of all time, then certainly the most nauseating yet. With this, football, they say, is showing a total disdain for governance, democracy, care, love, hope and good sense. Reprieve describes Saudi as one of the world's most brutal authoritarian regimes. People will die, Amnesty have said, and people have already died. 21,000 migrant worker deaths since 2016. The Telegraph carry this message on their sports page this morning. Keep LGBT fans safe. England's Football Association has backed the Saudi bid, but demanded that LGBT fans are safe in the country and won't be arrested. Homosexuality, of course, is a crime in Saudi Arabia. The FA say they have received those assurances. I'll finish with The Times, pointing out that the FA pontificates on rainbow armbands, but has done nothing to stop FIFA making the despicable, stomach-turning decision to order 2034 tournament to Saudi Arabia. Also critical of the fact that the tournament will have to be played in the winter, like in Qatar, but with restrictions caused by the Olympic Winter Games and Ramadan. The tournament will have to be squeezed into January 2034 or even maybe January 2035. European leagues have already taken legal action against FIFA over the upcoming Club World Cup. This piece says they won't hesitate to go to court again if they feel their competitions are being unfairly disrupted.
Thank you very much, Liam McGuinn. Well, it's still 10 years away. A lot can happen between now and then.